Welcome. These will be my thoughts on M.O.D.O.K, Season 1, Episode 9, What Menace Doth the Mailman Deliver? The episode is rated TVMA, so this video B. There will be spoilers for these first 9 episodes, and possibly other Marvel stuff, and honestly at this point, I just gotta say, this show has one more episode, one chance left to apparently ruin itself if going off all those negative reviews. I still really don't see. I don't know. I guess I struggle to see what it is people hate about it. I guess maybe if I watched more of these adult animated shows, because I certainly remember one complaint being that they thought it was inferior to some of those. So I don't know. So far, continuing to absolutely fucking love it. No, none of the family in this episode. That was the one thing that, but there wasn't really room for them. But yeah, my God, this might be my new favorite. What are those called in American TV? Tease? The opening, the before the opening titles bit. He's back to the, last time we saw him at the funeral, this time we see him at the grave of Melter. And the thing about, like, it's going great for me, family struggling, to respect my personal space. This is like the levels here on display in this scene of just callousness to people who've lost a loved one who's been fairly recently buried. We're reaching like Trump levels, like holy shit. And the thing about, like, I won the foot race. I had to trip your son into an open grave. He was winning. Jesus fucking Christ. And then the thing about, like, if I could just get a sign, turning over a new leaf. That's what I call gardening. Let's start a new chapter. The boy wizard cried, "It's time for a new start." What a weird way to start a chapter. We have to try something else. Try it from a different angle. I don't know if that is Chad Radwell or he's just like nodding in approval somewhere, but holy shit. Yeah. Broad daylight, not just at the cemetery, but on one of the fucking graves, literally now, fucking graves, having sex. Like, goddamn. I mean, I feel like that goes beyond just being like, oh, I don't really care who sees me. And, like, we are, all the way elbow deep into a fetish. Now, I think, yeah, and then he's like, I can't think in all this noise. If I only knew. That's it, I need something new. It's, again, this really funny parody, to me, really funny, of, because, like, we know how this goes, he, like, the show has made clear, something needs to change. He's stuck in this self-destructive cycle. He keeps doing the wrong thing, hurting people that he cares about, pushing people away and shit. And so, yeah, something needs to change. And normally, in like, yeah, a while back, before the postmodern parody sitcom, yeah, you'd have it that they overhear something or witness something, It slightly reminds me of that Simpsons episode where a character is considering cheating and then they, like, drive their car, a little bit, and every single time they stop the car anywhere, they see, like, two senior frickin' citizens still married and in love, or, various things that are like monogamy. And, yeah, like, genuinely clever. For so much of this episode, we are like, well, shit, maybe M.O.D.O.K really, like, at first it's like, this isn't like M.O.D.O.K at all. Like, I know he's trying to start something new, but still. But then by the end, no, like, yeah, he got them to lower their guard so he could work on the groom, and then he, turned it into this weapon kind of thing and sold the shares. That was what he meant by, it's just getting away from Grumble. He's just gonna make aim 2. Where he'll aim to please. And I think the next thing was the part where, Gary, like, oh no, I can't find the mail cart. M.O.D.O.K only gave me 2 jobs, mine and his. And, the thing about, like, one of the other employees is like, the, well, I know what you mean. There's this, one of our co-workers is also missing, and he's like, he's probably dead. Well, at least you're being sensitive about it. And turns out M.O.D.O.K is the one who has the mail cart. That's why Gary couldn't find it. M.O.D.O.K showed up to work on time and started actually doing his own job instead of getting Gary to do it. And then he's like, please don't punish me. And, so far, that's the old M.O.D.O.K. And then he says, don't make me eat so much spaghetti that I have to go to the hospital again. And it's like, I mean, I guess it's better than blowing off another arm. And let's see, I think the next thing is, and him just like, handing people their mail, and Monica shows up, and so and Gary trying to figure out, so what is this is a plan, and I mean, technically he is correct. It's just M.O.D.O.K's playing his cards close to the chest, and I don't know, I guess it's not impossible that he changed his mind when the Grome came up in the meeting. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, and oh, Monica, here's your package, and she blows it up as like, was it poison, a bomb? I think it was your food. And actually the IMDb summary for this episode says Monica becomes more suspicious than usual. Well put. And I guess the let's see, doesn't that bring us, and I'm this is my job, I'm going to bring the employees their edible underwear. And then he slides it right on him. Wow. And I think I actually, did I forget to say, it was really great seeing M.O.D.O.K out of the hover chair. Like, he looks just as awkward out of that thing as he does in it, honestly. And also really love the thing about, going to Simon Williams' movie, the quarterback hunchback of Notre Dame, the college. And he's like, they kept dipping the boom mic into the shot, and yet it still sounded like the characters were underwater. Jesus Christ. And I think that might... That's a joke written by someone who's actually watched some of those incredibly shittily made movies. Like, that is like Manos, the Hands of Fate level of incompetence when it comes to the technical aspects and the other aspects. Now, the Manos, the Hands of Fate, I think it is summed up very, very nicely by the 2 best riffs from the MST3K. And I do think overall that MST3K, it didn't give them a lot to work with, because the movie is just so fucking boring, like mind-numbingly, soul-crushingly boring. But there's one time where a character says, I'm scared, and the riff is shouting, of what? And then another time, one of the many quiet times in the movie that are obviously not meant to be quiet. It's supposed to be like tense and suspenseful, Yeah, at one point, one of them shouts, do something! I think that sums up that movie wonderfully. Anyway, let's see. yeah, that's when Monica starts, she's going around like trying to figure out, what is M.O.D.O.K planning. And I think, yeah, I think that's, we also have the part where, what's his name? Austin has to go to the board. That was also, yeah, when the package, here's your package, Austin. Thanks. You're gonna call me a shitbag? No, unless you want me to. He became such. I'm gonna go ahead and quote what I believe might be the very first line of dialogue that in the comics Magneto ever exchanged with Toad. Stop your sniveling, Toad. And yeah, so he goes and talks to Hexus Delivering Corporation, and there's the thing about like mind control, and I like how they do that thing that it doesn't only happen in comic book media, but it certainly sometimes does happen in comic book media, where they're just explaining the plan to someone who already knows and agrees to it. He's not saying let's not do this. He's just saying, we have a glitch. We have to fix the glitch first. And let's see. I think yeah, and that's when they say, and yeah, he's like, I can keep my little dog, right? My rescue dog. And they show how, like, yeah, they say that they're going to kill the dog because they don't understand how much people love dogs. Again, like, straight Donald Trump, honestly. And Kristi Noem, for that matter. Imagine bragging about killing a puppy for being a puppy. And she's like, well, I couldn't control it, so give it to someone else? Like, you can't find one person on the fucking planet that can take care of... But she demonstrated cruelty, and then she got a job in the administration. So I guess she succeeded at what she set out to do. Anyway, I guess this is a good time to... I don't know if I'm gonna recommend that series of a video. If you haven't already, you gotta make sure you watch Bone Apple 2. And that's right, I should be careful how I enunciate, so make sure, so it's the words bone, like what a dog likes, apple, to keep the doctor away, and then the number 2. I cannot believe I'm blanking on her name. I will have it momentarily. Emma Thorne. Yes. Fantastic video. I was laughing till my sides hurt. Right, I guess I will go ahead and recommend if you have 4 hours and you're okay with parts of it getting super depressing, the Dead Domain stream, Charlie Kirk in the Astral Plane, and they do warn before getting really, really dark, and it's important what they talk about. It's yeah, it's something that we should definitely not forget. I think that might bring us to the yeah. So now Austin has to try to find a way around. Right. So yeah, there's the board meeting, and the yeah. She's like, I fixed the glitch. Right, I think, is that around the time of... I think that might be the first time we hear the mention of, well, I really struggle with the gigolos. They've grown sexual organs, and they are reproducing at an alarming rate, and in an alarming number of positions. That's kind of the opposite of what the assignment was. Like, they're supposed to be that they weren't supposed to, no human beings would want to fuck them. Now they're fucking each other. Like, that's unfortunate. And yeah, and he says, this will give you more time to cock block gigolos. Laser their genitals off. Jeez, you know exactly how to talk to a mad scientist. And I think that's it. Yeah, so that's the board meeting, and the thing with, is there still a glitch? I fixed the glitch. And she asks, it's the thing, what is the temperature in Helsinki? And I don't think it's random that it was specifically Helsinki, and then it starts to say the temperature in hell, and then it glitches. And kills 2 people. And, Austin's like, I thought you said you fixed the glitch. Meanwhile, the old man is said, you call this a glitch? I gotta fucking watch that movie again. It's been way too long since I watched them. And I will at some point do a video as well. Anyway, but yeah, and she points out, it used to be 10, now it's down to 2. I mean, that is technically progress. I don't know. I mean, it's like 80% decrease. That's yeah. And and M.O.D.O.K, he's there putting up packages, and then he's like, I actually have an idea for. I do not remember his. I do appreciate how much technobabble it was. Like it sounded like nonsense. Like he's just saying it's like a 90s hacker movie or something. Like we have to spoof the network's modem in order for the firewall to access us, the mainframe, and yeah, Monica's like, well, I don't know, I guess that could work. I hope that means that she just hadn't thought of that solution, rather than that she was like, I think this is good enough. Killing 2 people instead of 10, that'll have to do. I could fix it completely, but, I mean, she is an evil scientist in a comic book property, so it is like, yeah. And I think that's when we get... Yeah, it was really funny. I'm afraid I forget her name, but Monica's daughter, she's a teenager, so she's sullen, and she's not really paying attention to things. She's like reading her book, and she's dodging all these lasers and such. And like, she's grabbed from behind, and she's like, Monica, I told you to call me Mom. Or, when I'm hiding in my Menace suit from M.O.D.O.K, Momity. I mean, we do find out shortly after that she cloned a male version of herself to procreate, which is appropriate because that was a dad joke. And yeah, that was also, if, would you talk like that to if I were your father? You are my father. And yeah, the father's there in this, what's it called? I guess he's floating in the diaper tank, really. And he's like, hey, sweetie, would you be a dear and grab that axe and... oh, me. And then Monica calls him deadbeat. Which, like, I feel like this is, what a bunch of conservative misogynists imagine when they say, single mothers, they chose to be single. I mean, yeah, some do, but a lot of them don't. And I do appreciate it's not always the man who leaves. Sometimes the man ends up dead, because late-stage capitalism is really, really fucking deadly. Anyway, I think that does bring us to... Yeah, I really liked how... Honestly, am I the one person who thought of, like, that part in a musical where several characters will sing, like... about their problem, and then they all join in the chorus, which, where there the words are the same, but they mean different things for different characters. The way that, yeah, Monica wants to find out what M.O.D.O.K is doing because she thinks he'll kill him. Austin wants to stop M.O.D.O.K because Hexus will kill his dog if he doesn't. And Gary thinks he has to stop Austin from killing M.O.D.O.K. And so we get, the voiceover that all of them share is it's all linked to M.O.D.O.K. I also really appreciate it. Honestly, I thought they handled the fact that Gary is gay, like, it's this mix of, like, in a way it's sensitive to it, because like they don't really treat it like, I mean, it's a show where whenever a character loves another, there's at least some jokes at the expense of that love. It's not really saying, you know, ew, gay. It's more like, you know, I mean, there's some humor in the, you know, there's some people who don't think that like really, you know, masculine men can be gay, and this is like a lumberjack, you know, which it's kind of silly. Like if you've met enough gay people, you'll see. I mean, there's they're as different from one another as we straight people are. So it's just really silly. But you know, yeah, like other than that, it doesn't really have like also. There's not a single joke about how like one of these gay men is also a rapist. You know, that used to be the go-to when conservatives wanted to mock and fearmonger about gay people. Yeah, you know, they're just in love. And let's see. The yeah, you know, they go through this kind of stereotypical, like there's a lot of media that has the straight version of this, you know. One of them is like really, you know, obsessed with something that's outside of the relationship, and the other one, you know, ends up basically breaking off and saying, not like that, and saying, you know, they warned me about you and now I understand, you know, like just, yeah. And yeah, the fact that, you know, that he thinks both of them have the same locket, and the locket that Gary has a picture of M.O.D.O.K's locket. Oh my fucking god. Not even M.O.D.O.K, but M.O.D.O.K's locket. And let's see. Yeah, the part with the let's see, the what's it called? Yeah, you know, Gary stares out the window and is like, Austin, what are you thinking? You know, what's in your locket? And then Austin is like trying to off the two of them, you know, suicide pact. And he drops the buttery suicide pills and, you know, then says, you know, okay, you get a humane death. I will, you know, stab myself to death with my keys. I don't think you thought that one through. Like, even before he remembers that he has rock hard abs, like, that's, no, that's not gonna, like, you're gonna have to use something, I'm not speaking from experience. Anyway, something longer, sharper, anyway. And the, I think that might be when he, yeah, I think the next thing is the part where Gary is, you know, they do a fucking Cape Fear reference, you know, die Austin, die, and he's, you know, doing one-armed push-ups, which is genuinely impressive. Now all he needs is to be wearing a fancy suit and at an airport. RFK Jr. suggests it. And the, oh shit, or was it the other one? It was one of them, you know, I forget the name of the exact, but RFK Jr. was also doing like push-ups, pull-ups, something. Anyway, the like if you need a perfect picture of how insecure and just driven by machismo nonsense this administration is, at least a lot of it, look no further than the video of, let's see, I think it's RFK Jr. and Pete Hegseth, you know, competing over who can do the most of these. Like, Jesus Christ, what is this, a fucking fraternity? What are you doing right now? God damn. Anyway, the yeah, and so and you know, he's okay. So I chant my obsession whilst doing my exercises. Check. And then, you know, he's gonna poison, and so he gets the poison out of the snake and into a dart, not thinking about the fact that they never take the fucking helmet off. He didn't even take, imagine doing workout whilst having a helmet like that on. My God, that must be really, really unpleasant. Like, yeah. And so the Austin goes to talk to M.O.D.O.K and uses the device to have the what was it, 1 minute of serenity time. And it's like the what was it, you have to let's walk. I know a secluded alley 43 blocks away from here. Jesus Christ. Could you be a little bit more subtle? And he's like begging and pleading and crying. And then M.O.D.O.K like, wow, I can't say no to that. Hey, Grown, can you say no to that? And then schedule for after the launch? Just to really rub it in, oh, this is definitely going to happen. And and he's called into the elevator. And then they say, we are no longer going to kill your dog after the launch. Oh, thank God. We're going to kill it now. I feel like you could have led with that, but okay. And, Gary's struggling to blow, and he doesn't seem to understand. Like, it's part of him now. This mask is his face. And, so he decides, okay, I'll just drop the snake itself, and it goes for Austin. But then he also drops in the needle, and it, of course, hits the fucking snake. So he gets rid of both of, he took away his weapons, both of them. And, the thing about, like, we got new outfits. What do you think? Aren't you the same person? No, we have different personalities. And it ends up with, okay, change all 3 orders to Baja then. Like, they're at a fucking, they're at they're ordering fast food and trying to figure out, like, I don't know, now that my buddy said that he wants it that kind of way, I think I kind of want it that way as well. And Monica, she like oh shit, this is part of the early show. Whatever, let's do it now. You have the bit where she like does a spinal tap, because right now her paranoia goes to 11. And, she's like, you're trying to undermine my confidence. You are definitely M.O.D.O.K. And then the computer says, definitely not M.O.D.O.K. God damn it. And these, I always feel bad for the Flying Death things, because they are like, they keep being called off. I don't think they've gotten to kill even one person yet. She keeps calling on them to, yeah. And then oh, right. And she's, shit. What was the other yeah, and she, you just put pin particles in me, didn't you? I think M.O.D.O.K is inside of me. You're gonna go take a look. If he's there, maybe do a little killing. Anything they got out of this conversation? And and then we have the other scene where she captures Gary and tries to get information, and that they, M.O.D.O.K, tell me everything. No, I'm Gary. And the carrying out the proud tradition of the right hand of the evil villain being not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And she said, no, tell me everything about M.O.D.O.K. Oh, my favorite topic. I'll tell you anything. What's he planning? That I don't know. And the and then she she hears the there's something in the fusion chamber, and the she calls on them, and they're like, well, maybe this is the time to negotiate. And she's like, no, I need you now. That sounds like time to negotiate. Strong union, good to see. And the she's like, okay, whatever comes out of the fusion chamber, you can kill, I promise. And then Austin got the flied, because he's always carrying around the dog, in the bag. So just, that's really fucking funny. And and that brings us to the second board meeting. And when it's like, where is Austin? The meeting is supposed to start. And, in walks this hideous abomination, wolf man creature. And, he's, right, I also really love the part where, M.O.D.O.K tells Rome to set the meeting and such. And then it, maimed one part, burns off part of the face. Lucky guy, now he's got an excuse to wear a monocle. And, M.O.D.O.K's like, score, we're down to a maiming. And yeah, Austin walks in, sits at the table, and then they're like, okay, great, now we can start the meeting. And M.O.D.O.K comes in, and there's a few seconds there where it's like, oh, this is when he gears up the oh no, never mind, he is just there for the mail. And sorry, for the Grome rather. And yeah, I really like the part where Monica is sitting there in like an invisible battle suit that like melts a piece of mail, and yeah, and he even says, oh, that's very nice. And yeah, he comes in and presents it, and says that he's going to, he sold his shares, and he's going to get Monica to sell her shares to Iron Man, which was also great. Like, that was another thing when he flies in, and we see, I'm afraid I forget what they went by, but Meltor's buddies, they're attacking Stark Tower. M.O.D.O.K is there. I mean, I guess he's trying to send a message and he never heard an email. Fair enough. Iron Man probably ignores the emails of people like M.O.D.O.K. And he also he it's probably not going to work again if he just bangs on the front door and cries about how he wants to die, because Iron Man probably got his fill of responding to that last time. But let's see, I think and the thing about, like, what did he say? His, like, teeth whitening just needs a few more minutes, so he'll quickly defeat them and then take out those strips, or something along those lines. Wow. And yeah, the thing about, so I sold the shares to, and he's like, oh, he's not going to come in through the door. Oh, shit, he's outside the window, and they can't hear each other, or rather, he can't hear M.O.D.O.K, and so he's like, I can't hear you, I'll have to go around. It's less dramatic than I was hoping for, but okay. And he hands Monica a card, and she immediately completely changes her tune on selling. Because yeah, like, at the end of the day, she does want to go back to the way things were. She did really feel passion for this once. And I guess that brings us to the and so they walk out, and Austin, he just wants to warn M.O.D.O.K, but Gary thinks it's the attack, so he runs him over. Jesus Christ. And yeah, I like, Hexus hires, right, I also really like the thing about, we needed, we got Grumble for this reason, then we got AIM for this other reason, then we got AIM for AOL, for the Cyber Babes. But yeah, them hiring Janelle, and it was like, okay, so what is your biggest weakness? I work too hard? That's not a weakness. We like that. And I think that does bring us to the and so they're starting this new building, and they're arguing over how to make it make that bickering over which part you put in first for the assembly. And because they're supervillains, one of them blows up the thing when they're annoyed. But that's, again, this mix of the mundane and the fantastical that the show has done so well at. We've all been in a situation where, I mean, obviously, one of those two things is not something we're used to, but, like, a supervillain blowing something up out of annoyance. We've all seen that. And let's see, the other thing was the when Gary, he's like, oh, what a can-do attitude, you ran over my old boss, so let's, you're hired. can I take the weekend off so I can fix my relationship? And then it's a no. Like, wow. And I don't know how he managed bison burgers, but I mean, that does fit. There's, again, that's the joke, that he's so hyper masculine. He didn't just bring them burgers because, that's like this stereotypical, manly thing of like barbecue. But it's specifically bison, not just like beef or something. Like, obviously, it's not going to be Impossible Burgers unless that's the joke that, in this one regard, he's actually, you know, it's so silly that that's deemed as not that manly when it's like, I mean, it's one of many progressive things that are literally going to help, save our lives for generations to come. But okay, I guess it's more manly to die an early death for reasons of pride and ego. And they wonder why women don't like them. I think that, and yeah, yes, I appreciate some women do go for the toxic masculine. I think that might bring us to, what was the last thing? So I definitely obviously want to talk about, it was really funny, the thing about, Grome, yeah. Who's stronger, Wonder Man or Iron Man? Thor. And they are not happy about that. And Monica's like, do we have to watch this? Like, can't I just gouge out my own eyes maybe or something? I also really liked her fixing, she just like injects Austin and she's like, leave science to the scientists. But oh, right, in the part where I think it's Austin who sees, like, not only, I mean, she did say an alarming rate, they are walking right out the womb. At least the parents look really happy. Those gigolos are so thrilled to be parents of, I don't know, what was that, octuplets or something, and Austin's like, that's a tomorrow problem. And I think that might... But yeah, the Grome being rigged to, attract animals. So that's great. And apparently one of them crawled into the clothing of, I guess, Wonder Man. I didn't quite catch which of them said, but I can imagine it's him because he's not wearing, metal. I think that might... Was there one more thing I wanted to say about this episode? I guess I'll briefly note, I can definitely imagine, like, right now my theory would be before the end of the finale, Hexus will have been defeated, and I don't know if I wouldn't rule out that there's maybe some sort of hint at more episodes. I can imagine they wanted at least more than one season, but yeah, it definitely looks like, because the episode before this one got rid of young M.O.D.O.K or M.O.D.O.K and seemingly brought the family back together, so it might end with basically the same status quo. I could imagine maybe by the end of the finale, Hexus will be gone, and Monica hates M.O.D.O.K as much as she did at the start of this. So, and maybe M.O.D.O.K does or says something to alienate the family, so that we are back to where we started, but there's been a fun journey along the way, that sort of thing. They do that in sitcoms sometimes, especially postmodern ones. Right, and obviously when I say postmodern, I mean that in the actual sense. I'm not like implying some kind of ridiculous, like, it's so frustrating that it's been co-opted by, anti-Semitic conspiracy theorists as like, postmodernism is like, I'm not even going to say it. You can look it up if you don't already know it, but it's so fucking ridiculous. Anyway, personally, I think with postmodernism, as so many other things, there's good, there's bad. It's not really, there's postmodern art I love. There's some where I'm like, okay, can we just take it down a notch, But the idea that it is trying to destroy Western society is just so absurd. Like, listen, if anything, is risking just like destroying. We've already seen how much damage the Republican Party and conservatives in various Western countries have done to democracy. That's where we should be, putting our feet down. And obviously, I'm not talking about violence. I mean political action. Anyway, I feel like there's one more thing. I was a tiny bit surprised that the Super Adaptoid didn't appear in the final scene, but there wasn't really room. But yeah, it was really funny that, yeah, he's bringing in bison burgers, and then M.O.D.O.K is like, you are, he's just chowing down, and, the right now I'm afraid I forget his name, but the husband, Gary's husband, is like, you better be worth this. And M.O.D.O.K is like, and you better make more of these, please. So he is getting at least a little bit better. And yeah, let's see. Technically, Hexus is still there. They still have access to, So yeah, let's see. So the thing is that it is now Iron Man who owns AIM, and he says they shouldn't conquer, anymore. But is that going to be able to stop Hexus? Are they going to pay enough attention to what Hexus is doing so that they can't? Because I can imagine they have a backup plan. And I'm also not 100% sure if this was a complete failure of the Grome, or if it was just like this one-time thing that M.O.D.O.K made sure the Grome would lead to public humiliation and the unpleasantness of being attacked, even though, I mean, they're going to be fine, Let's see. And that was also really funny. They brought back Wonder Man's hatred of homeless people one more time. It's a squirrel. They're friends to the homeless. Wow. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. Let's see. I'm just real quick gonna go over the mentally fast forwarding through the episode. Right, IMDb trivia notes what is meant to be Skrulls look like I forget which, but a Star Trek alien instead in the flashbacky part. Yeah, I think that might cover the I did also appreciate this thing of like, yeah, M.O.D.O.K telling Austin that's how you get rid of an annoying boss. And yeah, like there are instances where someone has, left behind a company that they no longer liked working at and started a new one to compete with the old one and such. Wasn't always their own choice to leave, but yeah, so that is because that's the thing. Like M.O.D.O.K played Austin's own game against him. There's nothing in the rule book that says a dog can't, sell his shares and then become fused with the boss's body. Yeah, I think that might be it. But yeah, I think I might know the answer to the question, is M.O.D.O.K still thinking he'll take over the world? Of course!